So one more time, if you go to Canvas, right, here's our home page, and you go to Assignments, and we go here to this very first, I guess it's an assignment, but it's not actually an assignment, right? Under Drawing Assignments, this is where you'll be able to download the course manual. So again, there will not be printed copies in the bookstore. Here's the PDF version, right? You can take this, click on it, it pops up here in the downloads, and you can put this on your zip drive and you can take it to the print shop, or you can print it from home or whatever, right? But everything that we'll be doing is from this workbook, okay? It's $10 again to print at the print shop if it's black and white. If you guys are wondering, right, if you click on that and it downloads, I think maybe most of you know, but if we come here to a File Explorer and you go to Downloads under this PC, there is where it lives, right? So when I download it, that's automatically where it goes. Okay? Okay, any questions about the book? Did anybody else have trouble installing AutoCAD on their home computer? No? Good. Oh.
I just have a concern just because mine is a Chromebook and I can already predict problems because of the Samsung, so I can only download the mobile version.
Wait, say that again. Why? It's a PC though, right? But it's a Samsung brand laptop.
Yeah. So I was only able to download. Pretty much, it's an app version.
And why is that again?
You said it's a Chromebook?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a Chromebook, so it's internet based. Oh yeah, that is problematic. We had a student last semester. I think you may have to use All Access.
Use All Access?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the only, she was never able to get AutoCAD to work on her, because it just runs off everything off the internet, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so when Jameson is here tomorrow, let's ask him about that, because he helped her get connected to All Access, and it worked pretty well for her.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody else have troubles?
So I don't think I have a computer that I can use CAD with right now, so I'll probably have to do All Access.
Okay, yeah, you'll probably, try All Access. And then again, these computer labs are open. We're pretty full on Monday, Wednesday, but yesterday when I was here, all day, nobody was in the lab. So Tuesday, Thursday's pretty open. Yep.
I talked to him last time,
Uh-huh.
and he said he'd help me if I come back today, but he's not here.
Okay.
So I have to
Let me just text him and see where he's at, because sometimes he is not truthful as to where he's been. Hold on a second. Okay. What time is it? It's only 2. Okay. So let's see where he's at. Okay. But you're the only one. And Cole's not here, right? So he was asking me about a Mac, but it sounds like you're the only other one with a Mac. Okay, well, not too many problems, so I take that as a success, right? Okay. So today what we're going to do is we are just going to, we're going to get going on AutoCAD. And what I'm going to do today is we are just really going to open up the software and I'm going to introduce you to the interface, okay? Let me see if I can get the projector working, actually, because for those of you that are on laptops, I really want you to be able to see a little bit. Can you see okay on the screen? I just want to, just in case, since we're, I can't remember what he unplugs and what. Maybe this. All right, so here's what we're gonna do. 1 second. go. Okay, so it's up on the screen if you are having to share. But what we're going to do is we are going to today we're just going to look at the software. So you won't have homework today. I'm going to introduce you to the interface and talk about how things run and get you navigating a little bit in the program. And that's really, I think, probably enough for you today. Monday we don't have class because it's Martin Luther King Jr. Day. So we basically have a week off after today, which is nice, right? And no homework. That worked out very nicely for all of you. Okay. And because I don't have my second screen because I have to use the projector as my second screen, I'm going to be flipping back and forth to this outline just to make sure that I don't forget anything. Okay. Oop, and we're recording for sure. There we go. All right, so everybody's able to log in. I just want to remind you a little bit about our network. If you are working here in the lab and you go to this PC, there are a few network drives on here that I just want to remind you about. One is the CAD Common, and the CAD Common is a public area where you can go and you can find files for different classes. Our class is going to be under Arch 1310, and usually I will pull drawings from the drawings folder. Okay, so these are going to be a lot of our in-class type exercises. Another drive that you're going to pay attention to will be your personal T drive, right? I don't have one on here because mine never works, but you all will have one. It will look like this, but it will have your username associated with it, right? So if my hard drive were working, it would say sbrady14, right? That drive is connected to your login, so regardless of whatever computer you're on in here, once you log in, that T drive becomes accessible, okay? When you log out, it becomes inaccessible to anyone, right? So if you leave your login on, like you just log in and then you leave one day, anybody who gets on your computer with your login can look at your stuff, right? But otherwise it's private. So if you log out every time, anything you save on that T drive on our network will be private for you, okay? So saving assignments and different things like that is safe. Now with that said, that T drive, unless you're savvy with All Access, which is patchy at best, you can't access that drive from home, right? So if you do your homework and you get it half complete and you save it here on your T drive and then you go home and you think, oh, I want to work on that assignment again, it's not accessible from your home, right? So make sure that if you are doing assignments and saving them here and then you want to go home and work on them, you have to take them with you, right? So you'll use a zip drive or email yourself things, or use what I use to keep that system somewhat manageable is I use Google Drive, right? So I'll work on something, I'll save it, I'll close it, and then I save it to Google Drive. When I get home, I take it out of Google Drive, I work on it, I save it, I close it, and then I save it back to Google Drive, right? And that's accessible anywhere, okay? Okay, so we have CAD Common and we have your T drive. Let's open up AutoCAD. AutoCAD 2018 English is the one we're going to want to open, right? Here it is. If it's not on your desktop, and sometimes when you install new software on your computers, the icon won't immediately show up on your desktop. You can click on this little window and type AutoCAD 2018, and there it is as well, right? Okay. Okay, so here is what our AutoCAD, the opening screen looks like, essentially. We don't have any drawing files open right now. We're just seeing the kind of blank software open here. And there's a couple things on the screen that I want you to recognize, right? We have this Start Drawing area, this big, and this is actually a button, okay? So we have this big Start Drawing button, all right? We have an Open Files. We have Open a Sheet Set, Get More Templates, and Explore Sample Drawings, okay? I also have this drop down here, right, that is below the big button, right? When I hover over it, highlights. I have this drop down here, right, that shows a bunch of different files, okay? Over here in the center, I have a recent documents area. And a recent documents area is, these are drawings that were open at a certain point, okay? What's nice about this recent documents area, if you are working on your own computer all the time, you know, when I want to open up a file, I can just click on elevation and it opens up, right? I don't have to go and maybe browse for my files all the time because they're kept in that recent documents area, okay? I'm not really going to worry about this area right here. This is so you can log in and have access to AutoCAD online type stuff, okay? If you come over here on the left-hand side, you have the Learn. We flip over here into a new screen, and this new screen has some areas that talk about new things in the newer versions of AutoCAD, right? So when we go from AutoCAD 2017 to 2018, they produce videos of, hey, look what's different for the money you've spent on the newer version, right? So they do have a few of those for us. And then they have some tutorials here. So if you want to use some of the Autodesk tutorials, they do have a few here. To get back to where we were, we go to the right-hand side, create, click, and we go back. Okay. All right. So this area is to access drawings you've already been working on, and this area is to start a brand new drawing. Okay. So we have the Start Drawing button. Click. And this starts a brand new blank AutoCAD drawing file. Okay. Some things you'll want to notice before we get into the actual interface. When I opened this, a tab popped up here in my interface, right? So I have a tab here, and when I hover over it, some things pop up, which we'll talk about. But this tab system allows you to navigate back and forth between drawings you have open, right? So if I wanted to go back to the Start screen, click, and I'm back on the Start screen, okay? If I want to go back to my drawing number 1, click, and I'm back on my drawing number 1, right? So if any of you use like any of the Adobe Suite type stuff, right? They have the same thing. There's tabs at the top and you navigate back and forth with those, okay? So this is the same thing. We haven't talked about this yet, but there is a little plus sign right here, right? So if I click on this little plus sign, click, a brand new drawing starts. Click, another brand new drawing starts. And we start to see all of these little tabs appearing, right? Now, when I click on this little plus sign and create a new tab, which creates a brand new drawing file, it's the same thing as if I were on this Start screen and I click on this Start Drawing icon here, okay? So I click on Start Drawing. It's the exact same as coming up here and clicking on this plus, all right? So here I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 drawings open. Oh, Jameson is not here, sorry. I heard the beep and I thought, he came back. No, he's not here. We'll try and catch him next time. Okay. So this is how I'm going to open new drawings. How do we close drawings? Well, I just come up to this little X, right? You all probably pretty familiar with opening and closing drawings or files at this point. I click on the X, and if there's nothing to save, then it just closes out. If there's something to save, it will say, hey, would you like to save this drawing? And you say yes or no. So I'm just going to click on these and close a few things out. So, do you want to save it? No. Okay. So when this opens up, it opens up a blank drawing. There's no unit set. There's no type of association with this. Okay. It's a blank drawing file that you can just go into and start drawing with, right? Open files will allow you to go and select things that maybe you've already drawn. So if I have a CAD file somewhere that I want to use, I can click on Open File. I can browse to wherever I save all my files, click on the one I want to open, and hit Open. And there's my file. It's open. If we're not going to worry about these actually. Never mind. So these last 3 we're not going to worry about, but we are going to worry about the Template tab here. Okay. So Start Drawing. That opens up a blank drawing file. Open Files allows me to browse out and find a drawing file. And then Templates, if I use this down arrow, this will allow me to open up a predefined template drawing, okay, which we'll get into a little bit later. But essentially, templates are used, or they're drawing files that have been set up with certain settings so that when you go to perform a task, you have the tools kind of, set and available for you to use. So the template has items already predefined in it to help you with certain drawing tasks, okay? So if I want to open a template file, I would use the drop down, find the template file I want, and open it from there. Okay? All right. Any questions so far? Not bad, right? Not bad yet. I don't usually scare anybody away on the first day. All right, so let's look at, we know how to open AutoCAD, we know how to open a blank drawing file. How do we save our drawings, and what kind of file type extensions do we create when we save files, right? So if I open up a blank drawing, so if I ever say to you, open up a blank drawing, well, you could just come here to the start drawing, click, and it starts a drawing, okay? Blank drawing file. If I were to save this file, and let me just, I'm very bad at keeping my desktop organized. As much as I would like it nice and organized. But I'm also very afraid of deleting things, so. Oh, there's my map drives. Hold on, maybe my T drive will actually work now. Oh, there it is. Okay, I forgot Jameson had provided me with this little map drive button. There's my T drive. I'm gonna delete that. Okay, a little bit nicer looking AutoCAD. Let's delete that. I'm gonna take a leap of faith here. I know, it hurts, right? Oh, that one's already open. Okay. We'll get rid of McCade's drawings here. All right. I already have that one open. That's why that won't delete. Okay. All right, so let's talk about saving a file. And I'll go through all of the different icons and the big A and all that good stuff in a second, but just watch, and I want to show you what kind of file types we generate when we save our files, okay? So if I were to save this drawing, okay, and I were to create a folder on my desktop called AutoCAD, okay, and I were to save my AutoCAD drawing in here, there's a few different file types we can actually save AutoCAD drawing files as, okay? By default, when I go to save this, it says drawing 8, which is, you know, the number of the drawing I've opened, .dwg, right? And if I hit, we'll just give it a new name, something like example, save, right? Okay, but now if I go to that drawing file, where was that? Desktop, AutoCAD Spring 2018. Here's my example drawing, and it has example.dwg, okay? And it has this little blue and yellow icon, right? This little blue and yellow icon, and the fact that I see a .dwg after this file name shows me that this is a working drawing file. DWG is the extension for any working drawing file, okay? So when you're generally just drawing drawings, exchanging drawing files with other people, you want to ask for a DWG file, right? And you'll hear me say that all the time. I'll say, will you please post for your assignment a DWG file, right? Which is different than like a PDF file, right? This is the actual AutoCAD drawing file that you open and you work in, okay? All right. If I were to do a save as and save this drawing again, but making a copy of it, I have a DWG file that I can save this as, but if I come down here to this file type drop down, okay, you notice I have the 2018 DWG file type. I have a bunch of DWG file types here. These are all earlier versions, okay, so 2013, 2010. AutoCAD software will allow you to save your drawings to an earlier version so that people with older versions of software can still open them, right? So if I'm running 2018, but my structural engineer is running 2012, I can still save my drawing to 2012 version so that they can open it, right? So we move back and forth with AutoCAD. Revit is not like that. Revit, you save it in a newer version, it can never be downgraded, essentially, okay? But you will see these earlier versions of AutoCAD drawing file available. Now, if I save down to something like a 2013 version, right, it's 5 years ago, but you're likely not going to lose a lot of functionality, right? So 5 years is not enough time that you lose all of the smartness of what AutoCAD has developed in those few years, okay? If I save down to something like an AutoCAD 2000, there's going to be a lot of, right, that's so long ago, but that's very literally
The only AutoCAD I've ever used.
AutoCAD 2000,
My dad had it, and I used it, and it is old school.
which is really funny because I started using AutoCAD in 2002. So that was a really long time ago at this point, right? But you will lose a lot of functionality, right, in that case. It's a risk, but if somebody can't open the file, it's not worth it, right? So we see DWG files. These are working drawing files. We also see, we're going to worry about DWT files, okay? A DWT file, drawing template, it has a red icon, and if I save it, let me go to my AutoCAD folder. I'm just going to hit OK here. See, I notice here now, see it says template file.dwt, okay? A template file, and we're going to talk about template files a little bit more in depth, so I'm not going to get hugely into the difference between a template and an AutoCAD working file right this second. But essentially, a template file has a DWT extension. Template file is something you're going to create that has some preset settings in it so that it's easier for you to start a drawing task, essentially. And that is what it looks like. And you can save any DWG file, you can turn any DWG file into a DWT file, all right? And we'll just kind of leave it at that for this second, okay? All right, I'm going to close out my DWT, and I'm going to go back and I'm going to create a blank drawing. I clicked on the plus sign, if you didn't see that, and I'm going to do another save as, okay? The other file type you're going to need to worry about is the DXF, okay? So we have DWG, DWT, and DXF, right? Now, you'll see that you have the same ability to save down in DXF format. And I'm going to save this in that AutoCAD Spring 2018 folder, transfer file, save. And now I have a DXF file in that folder that I've been saving drawings in, okay? And a DXF file is a drawing transfer file, right? So a drawing transfer file is going to be a file that other CAD softwares will likely be able to accept if they don't accept a DWG file, right? So sometimes, well, I say this, but I don't think the free version does it anymore, but back in the day when I was in school, SketchUp used to allow you to open DWG files and DXF files and use them, you know, straight across in their software for free. Now they don't, but a DXF file, for example, would be a good file type to, you know, you would draw some things in AutoCAD, but maybe SketchUp doesn't accept AutoCAD files when you want to, you know, insert one into another, but it will accept a drawing transfer file, right? So a drawing transfer file is just a format that will allow you to take CAD work from one CAD program to another CAD program, right? And that actually happens quite frequently, right? So we take our AutoCAD file and we insert it into our Revit file, and then we use Revit to create drawings. Or we use we draw an AutoCAD file and we insert it into SketchUp, and then we make massing forms in SketchUp. Or we create a SketchUp file and we want to take that SketchUp file and bring it into our Revit file, right? So this is a way of transferring files back and forth, okay? Those are going to be kind of the three main file types that you're really going to need to be worried about, all right? But really for the next probably couple weeks, the main one you're going to be worried about is this DWG file, right? So the drawing working file, okay? Makes sense so far? Okay. Now one final file type, let me go back to that folder I was working in, that you're going to see that you don't see here. I'm going to open up my example DWG file. Click, click. I have my example file open here. You can see that. Okay. If I hit save, okay, and I go back to my folder here, you're going to notice that another file type popped up. And that file type has the same, that file has the same name as the current drawing I'm in, the current DWG file, but it has a different extension. It's a BAK file, okay? that BAK file is a backup file for your drawing file. So anytime you open up a working CAD file, a drawing file, you open it up, you hit save, a backup file is generated, right? Me being the crazy file organizer usually that I am, I don't like seeing these extra files everywhere, right? You look at them and you think, they're cluttering up my file structure, I don't like them, what use are they, right? But they're pretty important until you're done with the project, actually, because if you happen to lose this file, you can restore this backup file and save some of your work, okay? You can set the autosave on it. It's kind of set on an autosave basis, right? To different increments of time. I think it's usually set at like an hour or maybe 30 minutes or something like that by default. So you may not recover everything that was lost in the file when it was deleted or corrupted or, you know, misplaced, but more than likely you're going to be able to recover some work that was deleted. Okay. So until you're finished with this working file, don't get rid of your backup files. Okay, they're pretty important. Okay, so we have 4 different file types that we're going to be worried about as we're working. All right. Okay, let me just make sure I don't forget anything. Okay. Good. All right, so this is our AutoCAD software, right? And I'm going to close out a couple of these drawings. I'm going to close these out by clicking on that little X on the tab. Click, click. Want to save it? No. We'll leave the bathroom open for now. we'll just use the bathroom today. All right. But a couple of things. I'll just remind you again, if you want to create a brand new blank drawing, which you all might want to do just to kind of follow along, right? We're not going to do any drawing today, but I'm just going to let you get familiar with what's happening here. You could start a brand new drawing, click, and it creates a brand new drawing. Okay. I'm going to go back to my bathroom drawing just so that I have something on the screen, right? But you don't worry about it yet. Just, you know, I really just want you to pay attention today. You can play around on here if you want to, but the main goal is just to kind of watch what's going on today. Okay, a few things you're going to want to notice about AutoCAD, right? Number one, we have this kind of big A up here in the left-hand corner, okay? This is called the application menu, the big A. If I click on the down arrow next to it, I get a bunch of different kind of system type operations, right? We have new, open, save, save as, import, export, publish, print, suite workflow, drawing utilities, and close, all right? We also, over here, have an options button, all right? So this is a really good place where I could come up here, click on new, drawing, or open, and browse to open an existing drawing. I could also hit save, save as, import, export. You guys kind of get the idea. But this is generally a collection of system type functions, okay? To get out of it, I just hit escape. Escape is a really important key in AutoCAD. You don't use it very often in many other programs, but it's your get out of jail free card in AutoCAD. So whenever I go into a menu and I want to get out, escape, 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 okay? If I get myself into a situation where I can't get out of something, like this is happening and you're panicked, right? Escape, 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 and I'll get out of it, all right? Okay, so we have our application menu. We have our quick access bar that is right next to that. Our quick access bar contains the most frequently used icons, or I guess commands in AutoCAD, right? You can customize these once you get better at AutoCAD, but you know, open and new, save, save as, print, undo, the best command, right? Undo. And then we have our little, if we use this drop down, we have a layer dialog box here. Yours will look different than mine because you don't have the same drawing open that I do, okay? But these are some quick access toolbars again. Some of these commands, like, you know, new and open and save, those are the same as on this application menu, right? So we have 2 different ways to do the exact same thing. If I want to open a drawing, I can click on the application menu, hit open. I could also come up here and click on open, and it does the exact same thing, right? Okay, so I have this, I have this. One thing that you may or may not see on your screens right now is the file menus. Do you guys see the file menus, or are they missing? They're probably missing. They'll also be missing when you go home, okay, and you use your AutoCAD on your personal computer. So to get those back, we're going to click on this little arrow that is at the very end of the quick access menu. Click. Okay, and I'm going to choose to, sorry, hold on. Okay, just had a little bit of a little mental pause there. Okay, so I clicked on the down arrow. If you choose show menu bar, click, you'll see that these menu bars or these file menus pop back up. It's a toggle, so you can turn them on or off, right? Click down, hide menu bar, they go away. Click down, show menu bar, there they are again, okay? I think half the battle of AutoCAD is not that most students don't get it, because most students really get it. It's, you know, it's not terribly hard. It's really involved, but it's not, you know, hard to do. I think the main battle is making things look the same from here to your house, right? So you come to class, things look a certain way, and then you go home and your menu bar's missing. And you know you need to get to your menu bar, and you know it's at school, but how do I make it appear at home, right? So some of the things that I see sort of appearing and disappearing, I'll make you aware of how to turn them on and off, okay? So the menu bar is going to be the first thing that when you get home, you'll want to turn on, right? So again, click down here, show menu bar, or show or hide menu bar, and it will turn on or off. Okay, so we have our application menu, we have our quick access toolbar, we have our file menus, of course, which we've just turned on. This tool palette right here that is below our file menus is called the ribbon, right? And the ribbon is making an appearance in most softwares at this point, right? You see it in the Adobe Suite, you see it in Microsoft Word, right? You see it in Revit, you see it here in AutoCAD. But essentially, the ribbon is a bunch of tabs, right? You see a bunch of tabs. Click, 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 okay? And these tabs contain tool palettes of commands that we use to draw, okay? Commands that we use to draw, commands that we use to modify, commands that we use to print, different things like that. So, and AutoCAD organizes all of their different tools or modification commands, you know, on similar tool palettes, right? So for example, under the Home tab, I have my drawing tool palette. So I have line, I have polyline, circle, arc, square, rectangle, whatever, right? Under my modify toolbar here, I have move, copy, stretch, which these all modify geometry, right? That's why they're on the modification tool palette. Annotation, layers, blocks, properties, groups, utilities, clipboard, and view. All of these different tool palettes contain groups of tools that are used together, okay? And these are icons, right? So icons meaning I click, it initiates the command, click, 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 escape, 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 and I've drawn a line, right? Click on circle, click, click, and I've drawn a circle, okay? So I have my ribbon up here, and then I have tool palettes on my ribbon, and the tool palettes contain different types of drawing or modification commands, okay? Any questions so far? Okay, good, good. All right, so two things. The first thing is that in AutoCAD, there's always about 4 different ways of achieving the same thing, right? So we've already seen an illustration of that in that I can go to the application menu and I can click on this and choose new, right? I can also go to File, New, Escape, Escape. I can also come up here to my quick access, click, new, and those are all like right within a tiny little, you know, mouse span, right? So there are going to be many different ways that you can do the same thing in AutoCAD. And honestly, there's no right or wrong way of going about it. It's just what you're most comfortable with, right? For me, well, let me show you the final way that we can kind of start things out, and then I'll say, right, we have file new, file new, file new. We have buttons that do different things, icons. And then down here at the bottom of our screen, and yours might look a tiny bit different. Does yours look more like that? Right? We have a command line, right? So We have drop-down files. We have buttons, icons. And then down here at the bottom of our screen, we have a command line, okay? So I can come down here to my command line and I could type new, and it will say, hey, a new drawing, open one up. Great, right? So I can use a drop-down. I can click on a button up here, or I can come down to my command line and I can type in a command to initiate, you know, whatever I want to happen, right? There is no right or wrong way. It doesn't matter if you click on a button, drop down a menu, or type in the command line, whatever you want to do. You're going to get the same result, and it's whatever you're most comfortable with, right? I tend to be a command line person. I like to type things because I feel like it's faster than dragging my mouse all the way over here, right? To a tiny little button that I can barely see, especially in Revit. So you'll see me typing things in all the time, right? So if I want to draw a line, I'll type in L-I-N-E at the command line. And I don't even have to come down and click at the command line to make it work. I just type in L-I-N-E, enter, and I can start drawing a line. Escape, escape. Okay? Circle, C-I-R-C-L-E, enter. Click, click, escape, escape. All right? My husband is a button guy. He has every single icon open in AutoCAD on his second screen. Like, you know, he likes to search for buttons and use buttons, and I like to type, right? So we don't have the same computer. But if you like buttons, that's great. Use buttons. If you like to type, type. And if you like drop-down menus, that's great too. Okay? Okay. So we've talked kind of about, we have our application menu, our quick access. We have our ribbon, right? And our ribbon is going to contain all of our drawing tools that we'll eventually learn and use, right? We have our command line down here at the bottom, okay, which is where we type commands, okay? Let's talk about some of the other areas that we're going to be working with, okay? We'll talk about our mouse as well. I have to go run and get a tissue real quick, so hold on. Pause. Just 1 second.
Just start typing.
Swear, I've been able to breathe the entire break, and the second I come into this building, must be all the asbestos, right? I'm not joking. Okay. All right. So let's talk about these other areas of AutoCAD, okay? We have this black background here, and this is what's called model space. And model space is where we draw, okay? It's as simple as that for today. Model space is where we draw, right? And when we're drawing in model space, we're drawing, generally speaking, in a plan view, meaning we are standing, you know, like a plan view. I'm standing here, I'm looking down like this at whatever object I'm trying to draw, and I'm drawing it, okay? AutoCAD is a 2D drafting program generally. It does have 3D functionality. We're not getting into that this semester, right? So it can draw 3D objects, but for our purposes, we are creating 2D flat drawings, right? Let me show you what that means. Right? It means that when I look at it from the side, they're completely flat drawings, okay? Let me go back to my top view. When I look at it here, I have a 2D representation, okay? So this black background is model space. Model space is where we draw, and when we draw in AutoCAD, we draw things the size that they actually are. And the way that I say that is we draw real world scale, okay? So if a building is 200 feet wide by 200 feet deep, we draw it 200 foot by 200 foot, okay? If it's 5 miles long and 5 miles deep, we draw it that big, okay? This is generally considered an infinite drawing board, okay? So I can draw things, oh yeah, that's okay. I can draw things as tiny as like 12 inches. There's a 12-inch line right there. Okay, and I can draw things as long as 1,000 feet. Okay, so when you're drawing something, don't think, oh, that thing is, 400 feet by 400 feet. I need to make it smaller so that I can draw in AutoCAD. Don't think that way. Think it's 400 feet by 400 feet. I need to draw it that big. Okay.
So it doesn't get overwhelmed.
No.
Program.
AutoCAD, I mean, there have been very few times that I've gotten an AutoCAD file so big that it's unmanageable. It's very rare, honestly, because these lines are all zero width. They're flat, right? So you can have millions of lines and it runs really well. Yeah. Okay. So model space, right? Infinite drawing board. We draw things the size that they actually are, all right? But that means that somehow we have to be able to print them on a piece of paper that's 2 foot by 3 foot, right? 24 by 36. So AutoCAD provides us with another area, I guess, a layout area where you can scale your drawings to print. So we draw things the right size. Down here at the bottom left, we have a tab. Yours is probably called layout, I would assume. When I click on that tab, I get popped into a place called paper space. So we have paper space and we have model space in AutoCAD. Model space is where we draw. Paper space is where we print, okay? I'm gonna not explain paper space a whole lot right now, but I do want you to recognize that if I were to measure this piece of paper, hold on, which you don't know how to do yet. Do you see how it says it's about 3 feet right there? I'm not snapping exactly to where it needs to be, but this piece of paper is about, it is 3 feet, right, by about 2 foot. There we go, okay? And the way that this works is that I get a representation of, oh, hold on. I think, hold on one second, guys, let's see. Okay. The way that paper space works is that AutoCAD allows me to see a representation of what I've drawn in my infinite drawing board at a scaled view in paper space, right? So the system works really well together. I draw things that are gigantic here, and then I flip back over by clicking into my layout space to print them on a piece of paper that is, 2 foot by 3 foot, a standard size, okay? And I do that by scaling them. So, when things are scaled, you'll see things like, or hear the terminology, 1/4 inch is equal to a foot, right? Or 1/8 inch is equal to a foot, or 1/2 inch is equal to a foot, right? You don't need to understand that now, but that is how it works. Okay, so we have paper space, which is where we print, and we have, if I click back here, model space, click, where we draw, all right? All right, so model space, paper space, we've talked about the ribbon, the quick access bar, the application menu, right? We've talked about all of these different little tabs that represent drawings. You haven't done it, but I've shown you, you can save your drawings, and we've talked about the different file types. Briefly, you saw what the command line could do, right? You can type commands into the command line to initiate commands, or to initiate, commands, right? We know that we have a place called model space where we draw. We have a place called paper space where we print, all right? Down here in the bottom right-hand side, we have the pretty sure the formal name for this is the taskbar. But this is where all of your object snaps are stored or shown, right? Let me just describe this by re-saying that we have drawing tools up here in the ribbon, right? So if I click on line, click, I hover over model space, click, move in the direction I want to go, click, 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 I'm drawing lines, right? You'll see that right now I'm drawing straight lines, click, click, okay? AutoCAD is really great because it's extremely precise, right? That's why we use AutoCAD, because you can draw any increment of line work in AutoCAD possible, right? To an extremely small precision. And lines are completely straight. You can make them, you know, any angle you want. But the point behind AutoCAD is that you can get straight lines, you can get crooked lines, you can get precise lines, you can get whatever you want, and it's very precise, okay? You can also copy, and you can also edit things very quickly in AutoCAD. I haven't had this said to me for a really long time, but a lot of times, you know, people who've been in architecture a long time will say, well, why is it taking you so long to do that? I could hand draft that in 10 minutes, right? I'm like, well, that's great. You can hand draft it in 10 minutes, but if I ask you to change it, it will take you 4 hours, right? And it will take me 20 minutes to make the alterations, right? And they'll be exactly precise. Does anybody in here hand draft at all? A little bit? Yeah? So, you know, this is where you save the time in this kind of software isn't necessarily the drawing, because the drawing takes time no matter what, right? But where you save the time is in reproduction and changes, essentially, okay? But, you know, with that, you know, we want to be able to draw straight lines, crooked lines, lines at a specific angle, and that is what these object snaps allow us to do, right? So right now, I'm constrained to draw completely straight orthogonal lines at every quadrant of the circle, so 90 degrees. If I unclick a setting here, I'm allowed to free rotate and click, click, click at any angle that I want to draw at, okay? If I click on this setting, which we're not going to quite define yet, you'll notice that as I move my cursor, when I hit a certain angle, I get a green line. It's called a snap, okay? So if I want to draw a line at every 30 degrees, 30, 60, 90, 120, right? There's 30, 60, 90, right? So this will allow me to draw lines at a specific angle. If I want to go back to completely straight lines at all 4 quadrants of the circle, 90, you know, 180, 270, I come back to here, and even if I move my mouse, you see it doesn't allow me to draw a diagonal line. Okay, escape, escape, escape. That cancels the command that I was in, and I'm ready to do something else. Okay, so we somewhat know how to draw maybe like a line today, right? We know that we have model space. We know that we have paper space, right? We know where the ribbon is, the quick access toolbar, all these good things. But how do we navigate around AutoCAD, right? You're seeing me zoom in and out whoop, whoop, really fast, move about, right? Let's talk about that. You're going to get really finicky with your mouse. And everybody has their own personal preference of what they like. But key in a true AutoCAD user, they have a little roller on their mouse, right? You can see kind of on mine. You guys all have it too, but you have a little roller button right here on the center of your mouse. And you might use it to kind of browse the internet or whatever, but in AutoCAD, that little roller button, right, in the middle, that's what's going to allow you to zoom in and out on your screen, okay? So if I'm on my screen here and I hit escape and I clear out any command, and I put my finger on the roller button and I move the roller away, zooms in. If I move the roller towards me and I'm just continuing to roll, 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 it zooms out. Okay? Zoom in, zoom out. Okay? So zooming in and zooming out is very tied to the roller button. Zoom in, zoom out. Okay? If I want to move about, which is called panning, I'm going to hold that roller down and move my mouse. I'm not going to let go. I'm just going to hold it down and move back and forth. Okay, so I'm panning. I'm zooming in, I'm panning. I'm zooming out, I'm panning. You're going to get very quick at this really quickly. Okay? It's how we navigate around the AutoCAD workspace, model space, right? We zoom in, we zoom out, we pan back and forth. All right? One thing I want to tell you up front, which is not going to make a whole lot of sense until you start drawing, is that zooming and panning doesn't break a command, right? A lot of students get very afraid of zooming and panning because they think, I got the line command started, I was able to, click and start it, I was able to draw a line. Now if I zoom in, it's going to break that command. So I'm going to stay all the way out here. I'm going to hope that I draw it the right way, right? Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Zoom in, zoom out while you're drawing. So if I click on line, right, click, I click, zoom, click, zoom, click, pan, zoom, zoom, click, right? You're seeing that my command is remaining intact. Click, 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 zoom out, click, 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 zoom in, zoom out, pan, as I'm drawing, okay? Escape, escape, escape. So the navigation commands that you're going to be using, they help you, right? They don't hinder you. So it wouldn't make sense if you're drawing along and then you want to zoom or pan and it breaks the command, right? It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. All right. Any questions so far? Did you say it? Yep.
I didn't get how to freely navigate the point, like if you're drawing a line instead of drawing a line on a straight path.
How to unconstrain that. Okay, so if you are just playing around, right, and you want to draw and just kind of be free, this little icon right here, it's called ortho mode. That will constrain you to only draw on the 4 quadrants of the circle. So if I type L for line and I click and you see how I want to kind of go maybe at a 30-degree angle, but it won't let me? If I come down here and I click on that ortho, which is a little 90-degree shape right there, if I click and it turns gray, now you see I'm free to rotate, right? So if I come down here and I click on ortho again, it snaps into place. And I can do that in the middle of a command and it doesn't break the command. Okay? Did that work for you? Okay. Good, good.
Is ortho where you create your angle as well? Like instead of drawing with a 90,
Mm-hmm.
so that's where you can pull up your degree angles at?
No, it's actually going to be polar tracking. That's this one right here. So if I click on that little down arrow, I get all of those different angles. Now here's the thing, just side note, right? If ortho is turned on, polar tracking like this is turned off. And if polar tracking is activated, then ortho is turned off. So you can't have both of them on at the same time. Although, with polar tracking on, you still can draw at 90-degree angles. Okay. Let me make sure I'm not missing anything. Let's see. All right. So we have a couple more things and then we'll call it a day. I think this is kind of a lot for one day. Let's talk about, I'm going to show you again quickly how to draw a line, and then I'm going to show you how to select objects in AutoCAD, how to delete them, and how to measure them, right? So if you want to play around with this over the weekend, then you'll have a little bit of knowledge on how to do that, okay? Okay, so I'm zoomed out. Oh, one last thing on zooming. I'm zoomed out really far, or my AutoCAD information is gone. And you know it's there, right? You know you've drawn something, but it's missing, okay? First you panic, and then you think, wait a minute, I didn't delete it. Well, hopefully, right? But there is a way to bring all of the geometry you've created back onto your screen very quickly. And it's called a zoom extents, okay? Zoom extents is on your mouse again. So the middle roller button, if you take your middle roller and you double click it twice, click, click, everything zooms back into place, right? So I'm all the way out here in nowhere land, middle button, click, click, very fast, there it is. So if you ever get lost in your drawing, you can't find where you've drawn something, do a zoom extents. Your mouse also allows you to right click, okay? There are some things on here that you can use, right? I don't really use the right click a whole lot in this instance. Escape, right? But that's zoom extents. Let's talk about drawing a line, and then I'll show you how to highlight things and how to delete them, that kind of thing. All right. So the line command is on your ribbon here. We have a line command here. You can also, if you like menus, go to the draw tool menu here, click line, right? Escape. You can also just start typing line, L-I-N-E, right? And if I do that, so if I do that, you guys probably have another setting on. Hold on, let me turn this other setting on. Okay. L-I-N-E. So you guys have a setting on right now that I'm not going to have you turn off. But you have what's called dynamic input turned on, where if I just start typing, it starts typing at the cursor, right? If I hit escape, L-I-N-E, enter, it starts inputting information at the cursor, right? When I don't have dynamic input turned on, then when I start typing, the information goes to the command line, okay? Not to say that I can't override that. I can come down and click in the command line and type L-I-N-E, and it overrides the dynamic input, right? I don't want to get too far into this today, but that's kind of just what's happening. This dynamic input really rocked AutoCAD's world when they started doing it. Everybody was very upset with it. But essentially, dynamic input will input information at your cursor. That's kind of the whole idea behind it, right? And it was a new thing probably in, I don't know, like 2010. So it's been around for a long time. But everybody who was using AutoCAD before that hated it. Hate. Everybody turns it off, including myself. I don't really like dynamic input that much. We'll talk about that later. Anyway, so I have my line command typed. I hit enter. All right, click, move in the direction I want to go. Click. Okay, so that's very simply how I'm going to draw a line. All right, if I hit escape, everything is deselected and any command is deactivated. Okay. If I want to select objects and delete them or move them or rotate them or modify them in any way, I can select objects a few different ways, okay? I can hover over one and click. That's called a pick. Hover, click. Hover, click, right? If I want to delete those right now, I could hit delete on my keyboard, delete. Okay? Hover, pick, delete. Hover, pick. Oop, I made a mistake. I don't want to pick that one. I can hit escape. Escape, and it deselects it. Okay?
Can you deselect one at a time?
If you hold down, I believe it's control. So if I've selected a bunch of stuff and I want to get rid of just one. Hold on a second. Nope, not in AutoCAD. Sorry, I was thinking of Revit. Nope. Well, there is a way. We're not going to go over that today, though. Okay. A second way that you can select objects is using a selection window. So this is a pick. Pick. It's easy, but it's time consuming, right? So a lot of times we want to just wholly select objects, okay? If I come up here in the top right-hand corner of my screen, near the objects I want to select, and I click, and I let go of the mouse button, and I drag my cursor down over the top of the objects I want to select, I'll see a green selection window happening, right? That green selection window, anything it touches, even if I don't touch the entire object, like this line down here, right? I'm not touching the whole object, meaning it's not encompassed, right? You see the difference? But anything I touch is selected. Click. Zoom out, click, let go of the button, zoom out a little more, pan. You see anything that I touch, click, delete, right? What's that? Yes. Okay. Click, let go of the mouse button, drag your mouse down over those objects, click again, and hit delete. Now, there's a difference between click, let go of the mouse button, and if you click and hold the mouse button, you get this. It's called the lasso. I feel like the lasso is a big mess, right? I mean, you can somewhat get most of the things. I don't even know, honestly, why. This is a new thing about 2-3 years ago. I mean, it's kind of fun to play around with, right? It's too messy for me. It's not.
If you have like a really complicated thing where you just want to go around stuff.
Snake around. Yeah, but there's another method that's better for that. This thing is just a gigantic mess. We're going to be AutoCAD purists, snobby. We're going to be snobby, right, about the lasso. Okay. Now, that's my green selection window. My green selection window, anything I touch gets deleted, even if I don't touch the whole thing, okay? I also have a blue selection window. The blue selection window is created when I go from the bottom left, click, up to the right. Now, I'm going to zoom in a little. Do you see how I'm touching that line with my blue selection window, but it's not selecting, right? I have to encompass an entire object in order for it to select with a blue selection window. So this is really a lot better for selecting, you know, select items, right? So if I want to just grab this line, I could pick, escape. I could blue selection, click, let go of the mouse, drag the blue selection window over that line, right? What's nice about that is that I don't select that vertical line off to the right. I don't select any of these diagonal lines that are crisscrossing it either, right? I can just select that one object. So you'll see me using blue selection windows all the time because I can touch a lot of things. You see how with that circle I'm touching a lot of things, right? But none of the other items are selected. It's very pinpoint, right? Whereas with the green selection window, click, anything I touch gets selected, right? So green selection window is more encompassing. You drag it over the top and it gets everything, right? The blue selection is more pinpoint, right? Where you want to get certain things, that's the one you're going to want to use, okay? So you select, hit delete, and there it goes, okay? One more thing for today, the undo button, right? You delete all that stuff and you think, I didn't really want to delete it. I just wanted to use the delete button, see how it works, right? You can undo things in AutoCAD up to a certain point, okay? You can use this little undo arrow right here. Undo, 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 and it just keeps undoing until it can't do any more, okay? I can also type undo at the command line. U-N-D-O, undo, enter. And if I just keep hitting enter, 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 see it's just undoing everything, you know, that was done. And it does it in sequence. So undo, 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 okay? So if you do something by mistake, right, I click, delete, I want that stuff back, I can hit undo. I can also type undo, yep.
Also, easy undo, just do Control-Z.
Yes, you can do Control-Z as well, right? That one is kind of habit if you use other programs, right? Like the Adobe Suite, Control-Z, Control-Z, Control-Z. So Control-Z, undo at the command line, the icon on top, or U. The shortcut for it is U, enter, 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 and it just keeps going back, 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 back. Okay. Any questions? Well, hopefully you guys don't forget everything, right, between now and next Wednesday. No, there was no homework for tonight. I just wanted to really kind of get you moving in AutoCAD. When we come back on Wednesday, we'll really start talking about how AutoCAD functions as a system, right? So we know where all of kind of the components to the software are, right? We know where model space is. We know where paper space is. We know where all of the tools are located. We may not know how to use them, but we know where all the tools are located. We know, you know, how to use our mouse, all that good stuff. But how do we actually draw in feet and inches? And how do we draw in engineering units, right? And what is the best way to go about that? And how does AutoCAD function as a system, right? You know, we've got, you guys don't know this yet, but there's a grid here, right? Where is the origin of that grid? And how is it organized? And how can we use that to the best of our abilities, right? So we'll really start getting into that when we get back on Wednesday. So, so enjoy your break. Oh, but, hold on a second. I'm going to take roll again today. I might take roll for the first little while. just because we've got our wait listers and people wanting to get in. So people who are not showing up are going to be dropped out. What is today? Today's the 10th. Okay, so once you have your name on the roll, you are free to go. Unless there's any questions, of course. I'm going to, I try and do this right after class. Every single time we have lecture, I post